Now, for many worshippers worldwide, Christmas is marked on the 25th of December. For Orthodox Christians, today is Christmas. In Ukraine, under the shadow of war, scores of residents, they held religious services earlier on. And 2 days ago, Russia's President Vladimir Putin announced a 36-hour ceasefire to allow Ukrainians to attend services today. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has rejected the peace offering, saying Russia is wanting to use the truce to cover as a cover to stop Ukraine advancing in Donbas. I'm joined by Ukrainian Ambassador to South Africa, Liubov Abravitova, who joins us this afternoon. Thank you very much for your time, Ambassador. And maybe let's just start with the notion made by the President of Ukraine that this truce for about 36 hours is disingenuous, and it's actually just a means for Russia to resupply or replenish its supplies and really just prevent certain developments within this with this conflict to advance.
Good day, and thank you for having me today. Yes, happy and Merry Christmas, peaceful Christmas for all the Orthodox who are celebrating today, and Happy New Year. For all audience, yeah, basically there is nothing to add to what you just said regarding the comments of the president. You know, it's not about the rejecting peace offer, it's about non-existent peace offer for so many days, especially the last months. The Russian attacks were so intense that it even sounds very cynical that after bombing Ukrainians on Catholic Christmas, then on the New Year itself, today is something like 48 hours of peace being offered. And we see in this only the attempt of Russia to again take its forces together, to have a rest, and to go with extra forces on Ukrainian civilians and on our infrastructure. You know, in revenge for its military losses on the ground, Russia continues to terrorize Ukrainian civilians. And as we are speaking today, the explosions are happening in Kherson and Mykolaiv. So what peace offer we are talking about? Putin and his regime once again showed to the world that their words, they basically don't worth of anything. In the past few days and weeks, we have again marked the intense missile attacks and drone attacks committed by Russia. Nearly 50% of Ukrainian energy system has been damaged by Russian attacks so far.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're saying those are the plans of Russia in terms of to stop the Ukrainian advances and the bombings have continued in certain areas, what happens or what do you anticipate will happen after the ceasefire? Russia's offensive set to be as aggressive as ever, perhaps?
Let me once again stress that there is no ceasefire, that the attacks are just not intense as they were. But obviously they will be continuing to happen. Meantime, we have to think about how we are going to finish this war. And I would maybe want to speak about the latest initiative of the President Zelensky regarding the 10-point peace formula that we are going to present in the end of February on the platform of United Nations at the special summit. The formula of peace that Ukrainian side is proposing is very inclusive and open for every country in the world to participate and to make sure that Russia will not be able to commit the crime of aggression against Ukraine and against the world. And it opened particularly for the countries of Global South. So we are very much looking forward to all the countries of the world to participate in this 10-point peace formula, which is very inclusive. It includes food security, energy security, of course, the issue of territorial integrity and sovereignty of Ukraine, and obviously the withdrawal of Russian troops and cessation of hostilities on the territory of Ukraine, restoration of justice, and confirmation of the end of the war, which all the world is very much looking forward, but no one is looking forward for it more than Ukrainians. For your information, I just came back from Ukraine 1 week ago, where I was attending the meeting of president and the government with all the Ukrainian ambassadors in the world. So I can tell you from the first-hand, seeing on my own eyes, how horrific and terrible situation is on the ground.
It's a very sad thing to hear, and I wonder, with this peace initiative that will be presented by the President Zelensky, how difficult will it be to then implement with all the global players that you are calling on, when Vladimir Putin told the president of Turkey that Ukraine must just accept these new territorial realities, that this is the way that it's going to be and it should just be accepted as so. How difficult will it be then to initiate this call for some form of peace, as you've just described to us in your previous answer?
You know, it is both easy and difficult, and it very much depends on the unity of the world and international community, because the consequences of allowing us to Putin to go for the new territorial gains, which is against international law, which is against the UN Charter, will bring a lot of chaos in all the world structure and security system. That is why it is in the interest of every country to not allow this to happen and to say enough is enough. But it's also very flexible when we speak about practical implementation of this 10-point peace formula, because different countries can choose for themselves to participate either in every single point of formula, or to choose for itself one of them to take a lead, or just to actively participate in it. And there are very political and very peace building and peacekeeping points, but as well there are those crucial, like radiation and nuclear safety points, or energy security, that are very much of an interest of the global society. So I think that definitely this formula can and will work. How quick? It will depend on every country. It will be responsibility of every country, and obviously, as quicker as we get to the solution, less innocent lives Ukrainians will lose.
Yeah, and of course South Africa would not be exempt from that kind of responsibility, Ambassador. South Africa has continued, or rather the government has continuously called for some kind of diplomatic resolution to the war that is currently underway. And I'm just wondering, have you engaged with our Department of International Relations in any recent time, and what is the latest information that you have received from them in terms of their stance and the level at which they are willing to support the plight of Ukrainians in the difficult times? Because ultimately, everybody has been negatively impacted by this war, even the average citizen on the South African street.
Obviously, that South Africa not only invited, but we do expect from South Africa to participate in this formula. Definitely this is priority for the foreign service of Ukraine and for a Ukrainian mission in South Africa. in this year, in the beginning of this year, to communicate with Dirko regarding this initiative as soon as we are approaching now to the end of February, and we'll need to basically technically start working on this peace formula. So the discussions are planned, and I'm sure that they will be fruitful.
Thank you very much for your time, as always, Ambassador, for joining us this afternoon and giving us your insights on the ceasefire, which she says is not really a ceasefire because Russia does continue to terrorize parts of Ukraine during the Christmas period that is celebrated by Orthodox Christians in that region. Thank you very much for joining us.